Yo, how's it going, everybody? This is the first ever video on this channel. And I guess in this first video, we're gonna start building some cards. I do have some cards lined up. UFC 329, 330, 331, and 332. Obviously, none of them are announced. Those are just the cards that I have built personally based off of a couple of factors. So, I have considered factors such as the fighter scheduling. I'm not going to just randomly stack up a card, you know, in a nonsensical way. I have to obviously consider if this fighter is coming off a win, coming off a loss, injured, he's going to be out for a while, stuff like that. And I also want to keep the cards realistic and up to the UFC's, recent standards when it comes to matchmaking rather than just making something that I personally like. So, I guess let's just give you an example to kick things off. UFC 329 in July, International Fight Week. Um, the main event, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. I think that fight makes sense. Conor McGregor is rumored to headline this card. Even according to Ariel Helwani, he said that he is going to fight on this card. And if it doesn't happen, then something disastrous would have happened in this whole situation. Obviously, like if Conor McGregor does not headline this card, then something bad must have happened. And I think Max Holloway is the perfect opponent. I don't know if he's gonna fight at 170 or if it's gonna be at 155 or even catch weight. I like 160, 165, but I think Max Holloway is the opponent. I think, he makes the most sense personally. I don't know if there's anybody at 170 that makes sense to fight Conor McGregor. Maybe Colby Covington, but I don't think that he deserves that shot more than someone like Max Holloway. Max is still, a big name despite him coming off a loss to Oliveira. I feel like this fight still makes sense. Although, to a lot of people, this would seem like a mismatch. Like, Max Holloway could just go out there and just starch Conor McGregor, which I think he will beat Conor McGregor, but you never know what's going to happen, especially if it's at 170, which is a division that Conor McGregor has competed in, but Max Holloway never fought at 170. Moving on to the co-main event, Paddy Pimblett versus Benoit Saint Denis. So when it comes to this fight, I mean, a couple of hours ago, Paddy did announce that he is going to fight on the International Fight Week card. So this card, obviously. And I don't think it's going to be Dan Hooker. I think it is going to be Benoit Saint Denis, because if he fights Dan Hooker, it is going to ruin the rankings a little bit. Like, Benoit Saint Denis will then be forced to fight someone down the rankings, assuming that he doesn't fight, Holloway or Oliveira or Saryuki next. Then he's probably going to be forced to fight someone like Emmanuel Torres, who's like 7 spots below him in the rankings, which would make no sense. So I think you should do Paddy versus Benoit and just move on. It's not like Paddy and Dan Hooker had some like immense beef. People keep talking about how that fight should happen, but I don't even think it needs to happen, Like, you have to care about the meritocracy of the sport, the integrity of the sport, the ranking system. Like Paddy and Dan Hooker, people make it seem as if they have this Habib McGregor sort of rivalry or this Jones DC sort of, beef going on. Bro, all they did was just exchange some words online, like once or twice, like a few tweets right then and there, and then they're just quiet now, So I don't think that fight needs to happen. This fight, I think, is more interesting to me. Yeah, book it, co-main event. And then in the featured fight, I do have Corey Sandhagen versus Peyton Talbot. Now, you know, but Mario Batista and David Martinez are ranked higher above Peyton Talbot, so you could argue that they deserve this fight more than him. But the reason why I'm going with this matchup is because if I am the UFC, I'm looking at Peyton as someone that presents, or he has more potential to become a star or in becoming a star than someone like David Martinez or even a Mario Batista. So if I throw in Peyton against someone like Batista and risk him losing, his stocks are going to go down the drain because you're going to lose to somebody like Mario Batista, who's not as big of a name as Sandhagen. And he's sure as hell not as entertaining, But if I throw him in there against Corey Sandhagen, he has a chance to pull off that big win and make a statement. But if he loses, it's most likely going to be in an entertaining fight. Because imagine the stylistic, kind of clash between those two, Sandhagen versus Talbot. Now, I know the ranking difference is kind of crazy. Sandhagen is number 4, Payne is number 11, but I think it's justified. There have been bigger, I guess, ranking gap sort of matchups that have happened before. Like, we've seen unranked guys, debuting in the UFC getting title shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, just in their debuts, like, they would get title shots when they haven't even fought a single time in the UFC. So I don't think it's that ridiculous. Also, if you consider that Corey Sandhagen is coming off a loss and Peyton is coming off 2 wins, one of them is against Henry Cejudo. So, yeah, I think this fight is, you know, good. Book it. You know, it's just I don't know what to say. It's just the fight at 135. So yeah. And in the fourth fight, we got Khalil Roundtree versus Ranier DeRidder. Ranier DeRidder is obviously making his move to 205. He's coming off two losses to Caio Baralho and to Brendan Allen. So what you could do is that just match him up against Khalil Roundtree. He's also coming off a loss, a knockout loss to Prohaska. Now, I have seen some people say that they want to see Khalil Roundtree versus Paulo Costa. Stylistically, that would be a very, very, very fun matchup, but I do want to see RDR versus Roundtree first. I think Paulo Costa deserves a bigger matchup, possibly like an Ankalaev or something like that. So I think this is the matchup to make. Maybe stylistically, it's not the most entertaining matchup, but you never know what RDR is going to bring to the table at 205. And then the main card opener, this is technically announced, kind of. If you go to Wikipedia, you would see that it's like under the announced bout section. And D-Rod himself said it as well that he has signed a contract to fight Leon Edwards. So I don't think this fight's going to be, in the prelims. I think it is going to be on the main card. So that wraps up this whole card. You guys let me know in the comment section if this is actually good or not. If I'm getting it right on the money, if this is a good enough card or not. But yeah. All right, moving on, we got UFC 330, which is going to be in August. I believe they already announced that it's going to be on August 15th, specifically in Philadelphia. So let's kick things off with the main event, Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary. Now, I think this is a lock, 100%. I'm sure that Islam Makhachev is going to be headlining this card. Now, there is a chance that it could be against Michael Morales, but at the same time, I do believe that Ian Gary deserves it more than him. He is higher ranked than him. He's coming off better wins than Michael Morales. Although, yes, Michael Morales is undefeated, but I don't think that should be like the main equalizer as to why he gets the fight over Ian Gary. If anything, I think Michael Morales should be fighting a contender like Usman or something like that, or even Shavkat if he ever comes back soon. But I don't think he's gonna come back anytime soon. So I think Kamaru Usman would make more sense for him. So I think Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary is the fight to make. Keep him busy. Keep Islam busy. I know he was supposed to fight Ilia Topuria at the White House, but since that fell through, you could just book him against Ian Gary and give him a free title defense. That's actually disrespectful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Free title defense is crazy. But I do think he's gonna walk through Ian Gary, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think Ian Gary is gonna present, immense threats or dangers for Islam, on the feet or on the ground specifically, right? Like on the feet, he has fought people like JDM. He has fought people like even at 155, he has fought people like Dustin Poirier. I know he was out of his prime, but still he's dangerous on the feet. Same thing with Volkanovski. I don't think Ian Gary is that dangerous, right? He doesn't really knock people out. I think the last person he knocked out was Son Kanan or something like that. So, you know, he keeps, talking about how he's going to knock out Jeff Neal and Neil Magny and MVP and he's going to stop Bilal and Protest, and he just takes all of them to the distance. So I don't think Islam Makhachev is going to be too wary of his power as he was against someone like JDM, where he had to play the reserved game, going for low kicks, then shooting takedowns. I do think that Islam is going to be a bit more confident and comfortable against Ian Gary than he was against JDM, where he had to basically secure a lot of control time to win the fight. And because obviously he's going to be confident and more comfortable because, for one, he already has settled in at 170. He already fought at 170 against JDM, and now he knows what it's like to be at 170. And two, because Ian Gary just doesn't pose the same threats as JDM. The co-main event, I do have Valentina Shevchenko versus Natalia Silva. Now, as much as I would like for someone like Volk or even Piotr Jan to share the same card as Islam, I don't think it's realistic. I don't think we see two top pound for pound guys share the same card unless they are fighting each other, right? I don't think we get to see Islam and Volk, who are both in the top 5 pound for pound, Islam being number 1. I think Volk is like number 5 or number 4. I don't think they both share the same card. Same thing if it's, Jan instead of Volk. I don't think that happens. So the point of this, card building, video is that I want to make this look as realistic as possible to match the UFC standards, because so far I think, both of these cards are realistic. Like, it's something that the UFC would definitely deliver and, put on a numbered event. So I do have Valentina Shevchenko versus Natalia Silva. This is the only fight that makes sense for the title at women's flyweight. And then the winner of this fight could possibly fight, I don't know, like the winner of Grasso, Menin Fiorot, or something like that. I don't know. But you have to book this fight. And in the featured bout, we have Caio Borralho versus Joe Pyfer. Um, so when it comes to Joe Pyfer, he is from Philly, so he has to be on this card, in my opinion. And also because it's not going to be like a quick turnaround. He did win his last fight against Izzy in March, and he didn't really get beat up or he didn't go to a war with him. He finished him, I believe it was like the second round or something like that. I don't even remember really, but he should make a quick turnaround. It's not even a quick turnaround, but he should come back in August if he can. I think he should. It's his hometown. And what better way to do it than to fight someone like Caio Borralho? I don't think he should skip over Caio and go fight Imavov Rodriguez. I do think he has to fight someone like Caio Borralho. Um, the fourth fight on the card, we have Dan Hooker versus Manuel Torres. Now, with Dan Hooker, Manuel Torres, you could do Dan Hooker versus Rafael Fiziev. That would also be a banger. You could also do like, Rafael Fiziev versus Manuel Torres. But my thing is that Dan is not getting any better. He's not really showing any potential. He's only getting older. He's been in this fighting business. He's been in this company for a while. The mileage, the amount of wars that he's been in, the amount of wars that he has been a part of, and he's coming off two losses. And when you compare him to Manuel Torres, I believe Manuel Torres is younger than him, and he's coming off wins. He has the momentum. He shows more potential than Dan Hooker. So I think what you should do is that you should just start sacrificing him to the up and comers. That's what the UFC should do at this point. They have to look at every division, and they have to sacrifice the unks. They have to sacrifice the people that are in the rankings, but they're starting to slowly dwindle and regress. And they have to sacrifice them to the up and coming contenders. That's what I personally believe. So, like for someone, at flyweight, you have to start sacrificing someone like Brandon Moreno. With all due respect, I like him as a fighter, as a person, but he is starting to show some regression and he's not really improving much. And he's starting to show some mileage and he's, getting older and stuff like that. So I think you should start sacrificing him to the up and comers. Same thing with someone like, let's say, Marlon Vera at bantamweight, or someone like, I don't know, like Brian Ortega at featherweight, Dan Hooker at lightweight, so on and so forth. Leon Edwards at welterweight. So yeah, they have to start doing that. So I think Dan Hooker versus Manuel Torres would be a good fight. I'm not gonna count out Dan completely. I think he could definitely win this fight, but I think because of Manuel Torres' youth and because of the fact that he has the momentum, and I feel like he's just overall more motivated and hungrier than Dan Hooker, I think he's gonna get this one done. And then for the main card opener, I do have Uros Medic versus Kevin Holland. Um, I was gonna originally go with Leon Edwards versus Uros Medic, seeing that Uros Medic called out Leon. I think he has been calling him out since like 2020 or something, or 2023. He's been looking at Leon for a while, and obviously he's coming off 3 knockout wins. 2 of them were against Jeff Neal and Muslim Salikov. So I think this would have been the perfect fight to just kind of sacrifice Leon to an up and comer, someone that is exciting for the division, has knockouts, entertaining in the octagon, but they are going to do Leon Edwards versus Daniel Rodriguez, and I think you could just match up Uros Medic with Kevin Holland, because if you're looking at the rankings, the top 15, I don't think there's anybody else that's, available for Uros Medic. There is Covington, but I don't think Covington takes this fight. It doesn't really make that much sense for him. Like, if you are Colby, you would just not take this fight, right? Like, Uros Medic is not a big name. Legacy-wise, he does not do much for you. He doesn't really get you any closer to a title shot, right? And there is also MVP, but I'm keeping Uros Medic away from MVP, and the reason why is because MVP is most likely going to derail that hype train by just like averaging 5 strikes per round, and he's going to win a boring decision. So I'm not gonna do that. So I will match him up with someone like Kevin Holland and guarantee a firefight. So that's the card. Philly, UFC 330 in August. And then I guess we can move on to UFC 331, which is going to be in September. I assuming that's going to be in September, because if we're going to assume that each month there's going to be one numbered event, which is usually the case, I don't know where this is going to be. It could be in, um, well, I know in September they usually go to Paris, but for a fight night. And they also have UFC Noche, which is also a fight night. But this could be a UFC Noche pay per view, or not pay per view, but a numbered event, UFC Noche, similar to UFC 306. But we don't know that yet. But for now, I do have the main event as Alexander Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev. This fight's long overdue. Like, this fight should have happened, you know, I feel like at the beginning or early 2025. Movsar, when he beat Aljamain Sterling at UFC 310, which was like at the end of 2024, he should have fought Volk right after, but obviously Volk had to fight Diego Lopez twice, which was nonsensical. But I think it's time to make this fight. I don't think Gene Silva should get the chance over Movsar. He does not deserve it. I think it should be Volk versus Movsar. And then the co-main event, I do have it as Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. Now, this fight could be a main event on its own, not above the Volk fight, but like in a separate, card. But the reason why I have it as the co-main because I don't think the UFC would want to take the risk to put Tsarukyan as the main event, especially with what happened the last time when he was supposed to be the main event. At UFC 311, he pulled out. I don't think they want to take this risk. So that's why, even though there's the BMF title on the line, the last time there was a BMF title on the line, it was a main event at UFC 326, Oliveira Holloway 2. But I don't think that they're going to take this risk again to have Tsarukyan headline another card. So I think it fits as a co-main, especially the fight above it is an undisputed title fight. I think it makes sense for it to be the co-main event. The featured fight, I do have it as Lerone Murphy versus Kevin Vachejos. Now, I think a lot of people would want to see Kevin fight Yair Rodriguez, but I personally want to see Yair fight Gene Silva, honestly. Kevin could also maybe wait for like the winner of, Arnold Allen, Melquizael Costa. He could also wait for the winner of Aljamain Sterling, Yusuf Zalal. But for someone like Kevin, who's really young, he has the momentum. He's coming off some good wins. Just knocked out Josh Emmett in round 1 in March. I don't think he should be waiting for that long. If possible, he could also fight earlier than September. He could possibly be on like the International Fight Week card as well in like the prelims or something, or even in the main card. But, worst case scenario, he could just come back in September. And what better way to do it than against Lerone Murphy? Now, this fight is dangerous for Kevin. Not that Lerone Murphy is like some killer inside the octagon as if he's going to knock him out clean or something, but it's just the fact that there's a chance that Lerone does take him the distance and just, wins a lackluster decision, which will end up derailing the hype train of Kevin Vachejos, who's a promising contender, up and coming. I believe he's like 20, 23 years old, 22, something like that. Brings in that Argentinian audience. I'm having second thoughts about this fight, but I think it's the best fight maybe you can make for Kevin Vachejos for now. Maybe the Yair Rodriguez fight could also make sense, and maybe you could have Gene Silva fight Lerone Murphy, but I guess for now we're going to just stay with this. I think Kevin Vachejos does have a very good chance in beating Lerone. The only thing that Lerone has over Kevin is the experience fighting the top-level guys, right? Like, he has fought Movsar Evloev, and besides Movsar, I don't know. Like, they both have fought Josh Emmett. Lerone has also fought Dan Ige, but Dan Ige isn't really a top contender. He has also fought Aaron Pico, also not a top contender. He was a debutant when he fought him. I think this fight is, maybe closer on people than people think, or than you would expect. So yeah, why not? Let's just give Kevin Vachejos this test against Lerone Murphy. And then the fourth fight, we have Renato Moicano versus Matthews Gamrot. Renato Moicano versus Matthews Gamrot. I feel like this is the fight to make. Ranking-wise, it makes sense. They're both coming off submission wins. Moicano's coming off a submission win against Chris Duncan. Gamrot's coming off a submission win against Esteban Ribovic. I think this is the fight to make. Like, I don't know who else would Moicano fight. Maybe Dan Hooker if possible, but I don't know. I think this would be a good fight. Two guys that could grapple. I think Moicano is a better striker than Gamrot, so it would be interesting, right? I think yeah, it's a solid matchup. There's nothing really special about this matchup. It's just a solid matchup to make a 155, honestly. And then the main card opener, I would have Aaron Pico versus the winner of Alan Costa. Um, I mean, I don't know who else to match. I don't know who else Aaron Pico should fight, honestly. Again, there could be the loser of Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. That's possible, but I don't know. Maybe if Allen wins, he gets Aaron Pico. But if Millie Cuisel Costa wins, it would be hard for him to just kind of like go from beating, um, who did he beat in his last fight? Dan Ige. It would be hard for him to go from Dan Ige, knocking out Dan Ige, and assume he knocks out Arnold Allen. It would be kind of hard for him to then just go back down and backtrack and fight Aaron Pico because he would be obviously higher ranked than Aaron Pico. He already is. He already is higher ranked than Aaron Pico, so it would be kind of difficult for him to um, go backwards and fight Aaron Pico. But if Allen wins, I think he should fight Aaron Pico and stack up some names. So that's the card, UFC 331. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then the last but not least, we do have UFC 332, which I'm assuming is going to be in October, and this could potentially be in the UAE. Um, it could be in the UAE because they usually tend to go to the UAE in October. I know for a fact, like last year, the numbered event in October was in the UAE, UFC 321, which was Aspinall versus Gane. And then the year before that, 2024, it was Topuria versus Holloway. And then the year before that was, I believe, Islam versus Volk 2. And the year before that was Islam versus Oliveira. So you could see that every year in October they do go to the UAE. So yeah, let's just assume this is going to be in the UAE. I don't know. Main event, Tom Aspinall versus the winner of Pereira Gane. I would hope that Aspinall would be able to fight again by October. I don't know how long he's going to be out with his eye surgeries and stuff like that, but I hope that he could be actually back by October. And obviously, he's not going to fight anybody else besides the winner of Pereira Gane because that will be the interim champ. The co-main event, Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. This fight was supposed to happen in the beginning of this year, UFC 324, but obviously Kayla got injured. And I believe they did say that Kayla was going to, when she got injured and they announced it, they said that she was going to be back by the beginning of fall. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't fall just September? Like that's the beginning. I don't think it would matter if she fights in September or October, but I think October would suffice. And obviously there should be nobody else in line for Kayla besides Nunes. Don't give me that don't give me that Norman Dumont fight or the Juliana Pena rematch or something. It has to be Amanda Nunes. We all know this. And then the featured fight, I do have Kamaru Usman versus Michael Morales. Now, the only thing that I have concerns about this fight is the fact that Kamaru averages one fight per year. We know this. But with someone like Michael Morales, I don't know if he wants to wait till October, you know? Like he's coming off a round one knockout over Sean Brady in November. Would he want to wait till October? That's my main concern. I don't think he would want to. I think he would want to fight a bit earlier than that. Maybe in June, July, maybe at most August. But let's just have it on this card. Kamaru Usman, Michael Morales. Kamaru obviously is coming off winners against Joaquin Buckley. He did say that he wanted to fight Islam for the belt, but obviously, Hunter Campbell said, no, you're not going to fight Islam for the belt. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense for you to come off one win and then fight Islam for the belt. But if he does beat Michael Morales, I think he should just get it instantly. And the same thing for Michael. If he beats Kamaru, I think he should get the title shot next after Ian Gary. So this is most likely a title eliminator. But then I don't know about JDM versus Protes. Is that a title eliminator? If Protes wins. If JDM wins, I don't think he gets a title shot immediately again. But if Protes beats JDM, we're talking about him coming off wins against Jeff Neal, Leon Edwards, and JDM. So there is that chance that he could potentially get a title shot, right after Ian Gary and before Michael Morales and Kamaru Usman. But we'll see what happens there, right? The fourth fight, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. Fluffy did get knocked out, but it's not like he got chinned, right? It's not like he just suffered a concussion or something. Like, I don't think so, because he obviously got dropped to a body shot. Strickland just teed off on him and just stopped him right then and there. So I don't think he needs to take like a year break. I think he just has to condition himself well, right? This fight is dangerous for Anthony. Gregory is big, really big for the division. He's powerful, one punch KO ability. I think he probably is the hardest hitting guy at middleweight. I think he hits harder than Joe Pyfer, in my opinion. But I think this is the fight to make. Fluffy should not be fighting up the rankings. Gregory should be fighting up the rankings. He's coming off 3 wins. I think this fight makes the most sense. You know, Fluffy, I don't think he should be taking like a massive, massive break. He just got beat in February, so I don't think he should be coming back next year. Because again, he did not get chinned. He lost because of the body shots, you know? So that's the fourth fight. And then the last one we got, the main card opener. I actually tried finding a better fight than this, but I just couldn't find anything, man. Maybe I'm just bad at searching for fights, but I did go with Jared Cannonier versus Christian Leroy Duncan. They're both middleweights, obvious. They're both in the rankings still. The thing that concerns me is that Cannonier doesn't really fight in numbered events all that much. The last time he did was at UFC 319, where he got just pieced up from the outside by MVP. So I don't know if he gets another spot on a numbered event, right? And as for Christian Leroy Duncan, he did call him out after his last win in the UK, which was against Roman Dolidze. This fight probably makes sense. It has to happen next, definitely. There's nobody else for them to fight. But I'm not sure about this fight, if it deserves to be on the main card or not. But you guys let me know what you think about, all of these cards. What do you think should be changed? Do I need to switch some of these fights around? Like, do I have to put maybe this fight here, this fight there? Do I have to add some new fights? And you may notice that Piotr Jan versus Merab 3 is not on this card or in any of these cards, and that's because I believe Jan is injured, from what I know, and with Merab, he is like recovering from like I don't know what's wrong with his nose, but there's something wrong, like it's broken. So that's why I just don't have them on any of these cards, because I don't even know if they are ready to fight each other. Meanwhile, with all of these guys, they look like they're ready, you know? Like Kayla, by the time it gets to October, she'll be ready. Kamaru's ready. Tom, I hope by the time it gets to October, he'll be ready. But we just don't know when Merab will be ready, when Jan will be ready. Those are my main concerns. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these fights. I could be doing some of these, card builder videos more in the future. But yeah, I guess that's it. See ya.